Alright folks, so I finally upgraded my watch, and this is the Suunto Spartan, which is an upgrade from my Suunto Ambit 3, and so I thought I would give a little comparison video and initial impressions, perhaps. Alright, so some of the major differences, I'll probably give a list of overall overview differences between the two, and then a list of pros and cons, and then we'll wrap it up with some of the things that you can use the app for, like creating videos, or the website, the Movescount, Suunto Movescount website for tracking your physical fitness. Alright, so to start off here, quick overview of what it looks like here. It's got like a stainless steel bezel, stainless buttons, integrated rubberized band here, stainless clasp, pretty big and sturdy stout band there. And you can see how the plastic molding of the case marries right up to the bezel there. And in comparison with the old Ambit 3, you can see some pretty significant differences here. The way it mounts, the way the straps mount to the watch itself. A lot more plastic on this one. Only a little bit of metal around the ring there, which takes a little bit of damage. Black buttons, but kind of a cool onyx black colored clasp too. One of the first things that's a noticeable difference is the charging cord system. So of course with these smartwatches these days you always got to bring your special cord with you whenever you travel, and in case you do forget, which I have done, you can see my other video up here in the corner of how I did a do-it-yourself charger with just a paper clip and basic cell phone charger. So anyways, these are the two different types of charging cords. You have the old clamp style and the new upgraded magnetized one, so I quite like that. The old one you had to clamp it on there just right to get your charge on. And it's pretty big and bulky, cumbersome, but the new one, you'll see, is just a lot simpler. And for the new one, it's just magnetized. And it gives you a nice little alarm chime to let you know that it's actually charging. So that's pretty sweet. And the cord's a lot thinner, a lot smaller, just a lot cleaner of a unit there. Alright, so this watch I obtained in January of 2019. I'm not sure how old it's been sitting on the shelf, but it's new to me. And I ran it with the old software, the original software that it came with, for, I don't know, about a month. And then I just recently updated it to the latest and greatest as of about February 25th or something like that. And the noticeable difference that I saw with the upgraded software was the face changed a little bit. So now there's pointy hands on there. And there's probably lots of other different upgrades that came with it as well. But as far as comparing the two, I had this one here for the Ambit 3 for a little over 3 years probably, and I used it most every day. And it's pretty rugged. You can tell that it took some scratches, took some abuse, but it was a super handy unit, and just maybe a little bit on the large side. I guess the new one isn't much larger, but they're both pretty large watches, so I don't have the biggest wrists, but they're pretty comfortable on my wrist, but they did seem a little bit large. But anyway, I was really satisfied with this Ambit 3. And the only probably downside complaint I ever really had about it was just this antenna here, which really isn't the big problem, but you know, it just kind of made it look kind of dated and kind of big and bulky on your wrist there. But overall, been pretty happy with this watch. Of course, you got the night function there, so you can see what time it is at night. And it was an introduction to the way Suunto runs their software, so it was pretty cool. All the different apps that you can, by apps I mean the different exercise programs that you can download to the watch itself and use as you go. So it was a cool intro to the way Suunto works. So now the new one here, you know, it's been pretty enjoyable. I like it quite a bit. I think probably on the face the biggest difference between the two in terms of performance is that I think the battery life lasts less on the new one than it does on the old one. And I think that's probably because at all times the backlight is illuminated, even when it's in the dim mode. The Ambit 3 here, I would be able to run, if I didn't turn on the GPS, I would be able to run for easily 2 weeks in between charges. Roughly 2 weeks, probably a little bit more maybe. And then pretty much anytime you're going to use a GPS function, if you're going to use it all day for a hike or a mountain bike or a snowboarding climb or anything like that, you can count on, you'd be lucky if it lasts the whole day. So if you're going to use it on a multi-day expedition, this is going to be among the things that you're going to need to charge daily. Okay, so with the Spartan, I found that I've got to pretty much charge it, even if I don't even use the GPS, I've got to charge it maybe about every week. I mean, maybe 8 or 9 days at most. And then again, if you use the GPS function, it just seems to zap the battery pretty quick. I don't even know if I could get a whole day. I'll put it to you this way: if I use it on a snowboard trip, on a day of snowboarding, running around the mountain, if I started at 9 in the morning, by the time it's the end of the day, about 4 o'clock, it's almost depleted of battery. So granted, that is in the cold, although the watch is typically underneath my jacket sleeve. But yeah, noticeable difference between the battery lives, both in GPS mode and out of GPS mode on both of these. Okay, and then one other probably major comparison is the brightness. So this one, obviously you can see it clear as day. You can invert the colors on it to be black on white or white on black. This one, it's either dim or it's bright. And so I've heard that people tend to complain about the overall brightness of the Spartan. The cool thing about it is that, unlike the Ambit, when you're wearing it at night, driving your car around, or anytime it's low light, even in the dim mode, you can see it, you can read it. Whereas this one, you either have to shine a light on it, or you have to turn on the light to read it. So that's kind of cool. But let me dim these lights down and we'll take a look at how bright and dim these actually both are. Alright, so there you can see it. This is in the dim mode, just the way you would normally be wearing it, and of course you can't even read the Ambit, so turn on the light there, super bright. Turn on the lights here, and fairly bright. It's kind of hard to show on the camera, but noticeably dimmer. Definitely noticeably dimmer. It's much brighter. And that's as bright as you can make it. The Spartan. You can't make it any brighter. And if you leave it on like that, with that much brightness, it's going to definitely zap your battery. So turn that off. Dim this back down. Alright, so that's in the normal wear mode. So I'm going to brighten it up And we'll just kind of go through the different menus. And there's other videos on YouTube that are better to actually show you all the different functions of the menus. So this is just an overview of what you'll see when you get this here. Okay, so here's the main face page, of course, main watch face. And I think probably the coolest thing about this watch is that you can change the different watch faces. So we'll definitely get to that. But if you go down, you've got your how many steps you've made for the day. If you're training and you have it in a training mode, I'm not sure exactly, I don't use that too much. I don't know what that, okay, so that's how you can do the sleep tracking if that's what you're interested in. And moving up from the watch face, you've got exercise mode, and that's how we'll enter into any of the different apps, the different exercise apps that you've installed. Your navigation screen, the logbook, a timer, and your settings. So let's go to settings real quick. And of course, that's where you can connect your phone, your Bluetooth, and all the different settings. But okay, that's where you can set your notifications if you want to get alerts that you've gotten a text on your phone. It's pretty annoying. They give you alerts for every dang app that you have on your phone, Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, so it's constantly going off. I just disable that. And of course the watch face. So let's take a look at that. And that's the one I have selected. And that one's pretty cool. Pretty basic. That one's kind of neat. Well, that one's cool too. There you go. I'm going to choose that one, and then it asks you for what color. You got all these different colors: purple, blue, pink, red, magenta, orange, green, light blue, and looks like a white color. Let's change it to white. Okay, now one thing you can also do is if you just hold down the center button, it returns you back to the previous menu. So there you go. Now there's the watch face. Pretty cool. Alright, now as far as exercise goes, let's go up to exercise. Okay, before we do exercise, let's do navigation. Your location, that might be really one of the main features you want to use. And it's going to search. So on that note, another thing that I quite like about this watch over the Ambit 3 is that anytime you enter a exercise mode on this one, it definitely takes some time. Sorry, on the Ambit 3, it definitely takes some time for the GPS to lock and sync. And of course that varies depending on your overhead tree coverage, if you're in a building, etc. So this one, you can get started. Sorry, the Spartan, you can get started and it'll just get going. See, right now I'm inside my house, so it's having a hard time finding the location. In fact, I'm not sure I want you to know my location, so let's go back. Compass, let's see if that works. Okay, you'll have to calibrate it. Let's just try it and see what we can do. Of course, the spinning, twisting, calibration mode. There we go. So, shows where north is. That's pretty darn accurate. And I think anytime there's a little bar on the bottom, if you tap that, there you go, brings up other information. So we'll close that. So there you go, there's your compass. Let's see if I can exit back out of this. Okay, navigation settings, that's where you would change your format for your coordinates, etc. Now let's just say we're going to start an exercise. So these are the different apps I have loaded on my watch, and I think it always shows the most recent one that you used right at front. So I got snowboarding, basic running, trail running, mountain biking, hiking, Another hiking one that I've customized to show the clock. Ski touring, if I'm doing some backcountry snowboard, mountaineering, whatnot. Motorsports, this is if I'm riding around in the desert in one of my trucks, or what have you, or perhaps in one of the Baja race trucks, if I ever get to ride around in that with them. Mountaineering, and other. Okay, so let's go up to snowboarding. Start, that's what I'm talking about. This is right off the bat. It starts. Okay, so it's already going. And I don't know how long it takes for the GPS to lock on, but you don't have to be bothered with getting it started and waiting like you did with the Ambit. So it's just going, and that's it. There should be different pages, and all of these are customizable within your app on your phone or on your computer, on the website, on the Suunto Movescount website. And so it's going to show you all sorts of different things. It will also show you where you've been, where you've traveled. It's kind of cool. I don't know how handy that is while you're out there, but later on when you download the data or upload the data, it's pretty neat to be able to see your route and so forth. Okay, let's see if we... Oh, wait, no, I think you just hit stop like you would on the old watch. Oh, that's the lap button. There you go, you keep lapping. There you go, resume or end. So, we're going to end this. And it's going to ask if we want to save it. I've never looked down here. Excellent, good, poor. That's pretty funny. Good. Saving. Can ask you if you want to save it. I guess it's saved. Okay. You can go down. And what the heck? May as well delete it. Yes. Okay. So that's that. Boom. Right back to the watch face. Okay, now speaking of the watch face, it's got your the date and the day of the week. It's got your steps for the day. Again, I'm sure you can probably customize how many steps your goal is, but it counts your steps like your Fitbit or anything else would. I've got my secondary clock in there to show UTC because of my pilot requirements. If I need to know the conversion for what the weather report is showing and reported in UTC, I know how many hours to do the math and figure out where I'm at, depending on where I'm at in the country. I think there you go. You tap the screen one time, it goes to the battery percentage or the clock. And I can't remember what the thing is on the bottom, but I guess we're not going to be able to see it right now anyway. So what you're going to have to do most commonly is lock and unlock this thing and change the brightness. So if it's unlocked, you should tap it twice and it goes dim. I think you have to use 2 fingers. And then I think you can... That's not right. Okay, so you hold in the button. That's not right either. After a minute it'll go back and it'll be locked out. So you can't just tap it to brighten it. You've got to unlock it by holding in the button, double tap, and then you can make it bright to see. There you go. Okay, so that's kind of the wraps up the overview of the watch. Now probably give my my opinion, the pros and cons of what I like and dislike about it. Okay, so first up, the pros, I suppose. Definitely the modernized appearance of it over the older one. You know, it just looks newer, looks cooler. Touchscreen, of course, feels like you're in your modern age versus only being able to navigate through buttons. The charge cord is definitely a perk. It's not a major feature, but I do think it's pretty desirable. I like it quite a bit. The way you can interface your menus by touching and so forth is just easier to navigate than the older one. The bezel, even though it's just stainless steel, and I forget the glass quality. what exactly it is, but it's sure to be pretty sturdy glass. But that said, we'll get back to that. So yeah, the glass, the bezel, it looks really nice. The antenna, of course, is hidden inside the watch itself. You don't have to have an external antenna hanging out on the watch band, so that's a major improvement. The GPS lock, or at least being able to lock on much more rapidly when you're getting ready to exercise, I think is a pretty major feature. And the ease of actually being able to just start your exercise, which kind of goes hand in hand with the point I just made. So those are kind of my overall lists of the things I do like about it. And I expect to get a good long lifetime out of it, 3 or 4 more years. So hopefully it holds up. Now for the cons. I'd say my biggest concern and my biggest complaint or criticism of it is the lack of glass protection. Unlike the Ambit 3, to where the glass is recessed down inside and protected by that collar of the bezel, this one is not. So this one can take some hits face down or some scuffs from the side, whereas this one, anything face on, is the glass is right there and exposed. So I'm kind of concerned about that, and I'm kind of dreading the day that if it takes a hit, I may end up going back to this one. So I try to be very mindful and take it off whenever I'm doing work that may potentially get it banged up, like cleaning the snowcat off of the snow in the morning after my shift. There's lots of metal parts that I'm putting my hands by that I don't want to just bash it onto, so I try to remember to put it away in my pocket and protect it. The second complaint is kind of the buttons. They bump pretty easily, but that was the case on the other one as well. Like, for example, if I'm trying to track a day of snowboarding and I'm putting my gloves or my mittens on and off throughout the day, it's pretty easy for me to bump the button, stop the activity, and not even realize it till the end of the day. So I try to be mindful of that, and but the ease of bumping the buttons is kind of a downside too, I suppose. Now this third thing might seem a little trivial, but the band material, although it feels good, the textile feels good on your hands, and to hold, it also collects all of the lint. It collects tons of lint, pet hair, dry skin, collects a lot of it. So you got to wash it off every stinking day before you put it on or take it off. Whereas, of course, the old one was more of a hardened, well, a little bit harder of a rubber, and so it never had that problem. Half the time I look down at it and it's just disgusting how much fuzz and lint is all over the stinking watch, so that sucks. The dimness, I'd say if it could be twice as bright, or there was some way to adjust how bright it is instead of the 2 settings, that would be beneficial, but I'm sure that would have a detrimental effect on battery lifespan, so I'm sure the engineers have gotten that all figured out, but I do wish it could be a little bit brighter. That said, it's not been a terrible inconvenience. Like I said, you're always able to read it at night in low lit conditions, and for the most part in the daytime as well. Now, different faces I've tried, that's not always the case, so that's kind of why I reverted back to this face. And then probably the last complaint I would have about it is just the battery life. So it sure was handy being able to, if I charged this watch up and I left for a trip, I might not even need to, the Ambit, I might not even need to bring my charger if I'm going to be back in a week or so. Whereas this one, I know I need to bring the charger all the time, no matter how many days away I'm going to be. And then, of course, between the two of them, I would like to think that you could get a full 24 hours of GPS functionality out of it too. Let's say you're climbing a mountain, doing a pretty extensive backcountry trip. You don't want to have to think about charging your watch in addition to your phone, in addition to your cameras, until the end of the day when you're going to bed instead of at sunset. So perhaps a future video report will indicate that it has a longer battery life on certain activities. Maybe a follow-up on that. Okay, so that's been a pretty long video. I think we started at about 5:30. It's been about a half hour of me rambling. So we'll end it off here with the watch itself, and then the next little segment will be discussing the app, the website, and the way you can show videos to your friends if you want to export videos from your activities. So it's pretty cool. But thanks for watching, and thanks for listening to another guy ramble on about another watch. Later. Alright, so I'm going to try to open up both of these apps here. The Movescount is the old app that used to be what I ran the old watch on. And I'm not totally convinced or totally sure that, there's my name, Jeremy A. Ventures, that's my Instagram also. Not totally sure that I can run the new watch independent of this app or not. Not totally sure. Now, the other app is the Suunto app. Why they need two different ones? I guess they're just that special. So this one has some pretty cool features. There's the different maps. These are the different places I've snowboarded, etc. Of course, Facebook has to get its hands involved in everything. No, I don't need to connect my watch to Facebook, thanks. Okay. Looks like there's a diary. Oh, I also don't want to make a review. Thank you. There's probably extensive videos that show all the different functions of all this, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just giving you an overview of what you can see on here. So that's kind of cool. The diary. Okay, I've got 4 activities, 86 miles, whatever. Okay, so the coolest thing that I wanted to show you on this was, if I can find it, is, okay, so here you are on an activity, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose an activity, that one right there. Shows you all your stats. There's some friends of mine. You can see the cool snowcat we were riding. And if you pan down here past all the data and the map itself, you can make a Suunto movie. So that's probably the coolest thing. So you can also upload photos, or photos that you have taken on your phone during the day, during the activity. They will automatically be incorporated, or give you the option to incorporate them. So 19 miles of snowboarding that day. It's kind of cool, but it also doesn't give you a lot of options for... See, it even knows the geolocation of where that photo was taken. The one on my phone, at least. I think I added a few GoPro photos to this later. And they just add those photos to the end of the reel. End of the video reel here. So it gives you the option of how long the duration of the video is. But what it doesn't give you an option of is where the camera view angle is. Now, if you want a different camera view angle, switch it to a different time, and it'll do it a little bit differently. So it's thinking, it's doing its thing. Now I hit play, it's only going to be what, 6 seconds? 20 seconds instead of 60 seconds. So now everything's moving a lot faster, but it moves the camera around so you can actually get some different perspectives of the terrain that you are on. Neither of which are very detailed. It's kind of more novelty than anything, but it is kind of cool. And then if you wanted to share it, you just hit export, and it goes through the process. It's recording it. So since I didn't edit and add the photos on the 20-second one, then I would have to do that in order for the photos to show up. There you go. Save video to files, and it's done. Now you can send that on your way to all the rest of your social medias. There you go. There's the video right there. Cool. So that pretty much covers it. Pretty much wraps it up.
Alright, before I leave, the last part I probably wanted to show you was logged in here to Suunto Movescount, Movescount.com. You look at your calendar, and I've selected this one activity. So again, it shows your stats and other stuff, but a cool graph. More graphs. I mean, it gets pretty damn high tech, don't it? Look at this. Different laps. I don't know what the comparison mode is, but whatever. And there's the watch. I kind of think that the map is pretty neat. It's not super useful, maybe, but no, I just don't know exactly what I would do, what I would use it as, but it does kind of show you whereabouts you were, your distances, so on and so forth. These are the chairlifts that I ride up here at Powder Mountain in Utah, where I work and ride in the winter. This is kind of cool because this is the day I did the turn and burn contest, so you can see my one practice run I took down the course. And then the next one when I fell during competition. But it was a heck of a course. It was a lot of fun. So 19 miles that day. All right. I wanted to look at the watch to see if there was a way itself to edit modes. A bunch of different activities I have done. I don't know if it's on the website here, but it's kind of neat how you can go in and change all the different pages on your activity. So you can have as many pages as you want, showing all sorts of different data. So super handy, really cool, pretty high tech, maybe a little too high tech for me, but it shows me my elevation, and that's the main reason I even want a GPS watch, so that I know what my elevation is when I'm hiking and doing activities in the mountains. The rest of it's all just kind of for fun and amusement, but it's pretty dang handy. So thanks for watching.
That pretty much wraps up my video presentation for the Suunto Spartan watch and how it compares to the Suunto Ambit 3. This is the Spartan Sport version. So again, thanks for watching. See you next time.